was the three amigos, me, Gary, and Tracy. We met as kids when our families moved into the same neighborhood. Tracy was 5, like us, but different. She was a little badass, outran me, outmuscled Gary. While girls played dolls, she played stickball with us. Not sometimes, all the time. She was one of us. Then came puberty. Tracy filled out, tight curves, long legs, shiny hair. Me and Gary noticed. We just never talked about it. We were scared she'd knock us flat. But when Gary wasn't around, me and her, different vibe, closer. One summer Sunday, just the two of us on my porch swing, talking about nothing. Then bam, she kissed me. Light, soft, strawberry chapstick. My brain shorted out. Wow, I said, dumb as a rock. She blushed. I grabbed her hand. We just sat there, swinging. Next day, Gary's back and she's all business like it never happened. I tried holding her hand again. She pulled away. I was lost. Then came the Christmas dance. I figured I'd finally shoot my shot. Trace, you want to go to the Christmas dance? She stopped walking, standing between me and Gary. She looked weirded out. I'm going with Gary, she said. I saw Gary's smirk. Sorry, Bobby. You snooze, you lose, he said, like it was a joke. Gut punch. I covered fast. Didn't know, man, no big. Yeah, we're cool, he said, cheerful like nothing happened. Tracy stayed quiet the rest of the walk. I didn't ask anyone else. Didn't go to the dance. I felt played by both of them. That night, I was sulking at home. My dad popped in while I had music on. Girls, huh? He said, sitting at my desk. Can't live with them, can't eliminate them. I blinked at him. He grinned. Thanks, Dad. Deep stuff. After that, we weren't really the three amigos anymore. More like 2 plus me. Tracy and Gary dated through high school. I started dating other girls. Then we split for college. Gary went to UCLA. Tracy and I both landed at Michigan State. Freshman year, I barely talked to her. Guy code, right? Don't step on your boy's toes. She noticed I could tell, but I wasn't going to be that dude. Then, one day, her mom, Mrs. Ford, pulled me aside. She was like family to me. She misses how it used to be, she said. We're not kids anymore, I told her. And if she's not with me, Gary's a solid choice. Nothing changed till junior year. Out of nowhere, Tracy asked me to her sorority formal. I hesitated. You and Gary still together? No, we broke up after summer, she said. He's staying in Cali for law school, said he didn't want to drag it out. Law school, damn, didn't see that coming. Our first date? Man, it was kind of shaky. Real low-key, nothing wild. She straight up asked me later if I'd be down to take her out again. Second time we hung out, we kissed. Fourth date? We ended up sleeping together. I could tell she wasn't new to the game, but hey, I wasn't exactly innocent myself, so no judgment. We were together a couple years before we tied the knot. Honestly, I wasn't really feeling the whole marriage thing, but I went with it. Asked my boy Gary to be my best man even though, yeah, he dated her before, slept with her too. Weird situation? Totally. But we all just played it cool. Right after the wedding, Gary dipped back to California. I didn't hear a word from him for, over 20 years. Life moved on. Tracy and I had our daughter Kaylee 2 years in, then our son Jeffrey 2 years after that. Then out of nowhere, my mom calls me one day, says Mrs. Prescott, Gary's mom, told her he was flying in for a visit. He'd gotten some bad news. Cancer, less than a year left, according to the docs. He wanted to see his folks while he was still hanging in there. So our moms get to talking, and next thing you know, they're planning this little get-together so Gary could catch up with old friends and family. His mom was all for it. When he showed up, he still looked okay, considering. You could tell he was fighting it hard, though. Dude looked drained, like life was already fading. He was single, divorced twice, no kids, just him, rolling solo through the mess. Tracy, Gary, and I sat around for hours, just talking. Mostly about him, his life, what he'd been through, and how things were probably going to end. Heavy stuff, man. Real heavy. Then, right near the end of the night, Tracy drops this bomb out of nowhere. She looks at Gary and goes, "What if we help take care of you, at least until you need hospice?" Gary and I both froze. That convo? Never happened between me and her before. She just threw it out there like it was no big deal. Gary blinked. Wait, what? I mean, I still got a few months before I'm really down bad. And you guys can't just bounce from your jobs. You got 2 kids in college, for crying out loud. Tracy leaned in a bit. I work for a national insurance company, mostly vacation stuff. Bobby, that's me. Can probably swing some vacation days, maybe some personal leave. We could pull together a couple months. I looked at her like she was crazy. Babe, 2 months isn't even close to enough. She shot back. You could take it week by week, stretch it out. 4 months maybe. I can handle things solo when you're not around. Now, I was just sitting there like, what the hell is happening? Yeah, Gary was an old friend, but my wife just offered up our time, our home life, us, to take care of him without even asking me first. And she did it in front of him, so what was I supposed to say? Nah, let the guy die alone? I started to say something. Tracy, that's a serious ask. But she gave me this look, man, like, don't you dare. Then her face softened. She turned to Gary and said real calm, we're gonna do it. I swallowed hard and bit my tongue. That night, I barely made it through the door before I exploded. What the hell, Tracy? You're seriously bailing on our life for 6 months to go babysit your ex? Are you out of your goddamn mind, you selfish fool? She didn't even blink, didn't hesitate. Just fired right back like she'd been waiting to unload. Oh, so that's what this is? You're still twisted up over the fact that he was inside me before you? That it was his bed I slept in that night at Jeffrey's place? Grow the hell up. I stepped forward. My heart was thumping like a war drum, hands clenched, voice shaking but sharp. I'm not jealous of him, Tracy. I'm disgusted by you. You knew exactly what you were doing. Don't act like this was some noble mission. You chose him over us. She stood up then, all attitude and venom, arms crossed tight across her chest. He needed help. You just needed another reason to whine. You never back me up unless it benefits you. It took 3 days of shouting matches, cold shoulders, and slammed doors before we reached an agreement. In marriage speak, that meant Tracy got her way. We did exactly what she'd promised Gary we'd do before I even got a vote. Gary, of course, was all humble and apologetic, his tail tucked between his legs. I lost count of how many times he said, thank you. But that didn't erase the taste in my mouth. Bitterness doesn't wash out that easy. After the first month of helping out with Gary, I started feeling like a selfish idiot. I was working full-time, keeping the house running and helping Tracy care for him. Some days were okay, others were a mess, and all of it had me completely worn out. I figured maybe I was just burnt out, but by month 2, something started to feel off between me and Tracy. She looked just as wiped, maybe even more than she should have been, so I brushed it off. But what really got to me were the looks. Little glances between her and Gary when they thought I wasn't paying attention, like they had their own private code. At first I told myself I was just being paranoid. Everything seemed fine on the surface, smooth even. But every now and then I felt like I was crashing their party, like I was the third wheel in my own marriage. And when Tracy and I were intimate, things were off. I'd come back after a week away, itching to be close to her, and she acted like it was just something to check off her list. Distant, uninterested. I blamed it on stress, same as everything else. By month 4, I was out of vacation time, and that meant I had to stop helping out. Gary was worse, yeah, but he still had a bit of time. Tracy said she'd handle the rest solo. I wasn't thrilled about that, but what could I say? So I went back to work, and our daughter Kaylee stepped up to help her mom. She even spent a couple weeks there. Gary was her godfather, after all. About a month later, Gary was moved to hospice. A month after that, he passed. I flew out for the funeral. Tracy was wrecked, same as Gary's parents, who kept thanking us again and again. I just nodded and redirected all the credit to Tracy. When we got home, she was cold, distant. I figured she was still grieving. But then, out of nowhere, for the next 3 weeks straight, we were like newlyweds again, couldn't keep our hands off each other. It was intense. I wasn't complaining. Then, a month later, Tracy comes out of the bathroom holding a pregnancy test. Big old plus sign on it. I just stood there, my brain glitching. Wait, you're pregnant? I asked, trying to catch my breath. Tracy, we're 45. Our kids are grown. Kaylee's 22, Jeffrey's 20. And weren't you still on the pill? She shrugged like it was no big thing. I forgot to take it to Callie. Then I just stopped. Figured it wasn't worth bringing up once we got home. Besides, you know how we feel about termination. Guess it's just us doing this all over again. All I could think was, holy crap, I'm going to be a dad again. And somehow, I found myself nodding. For a week, I walked around with a dumb smile plastered on my face. Tracy's Zex drive went through the roof, same as when she was pregnant before. We were all over each other, every night, sometimes twice. It was wild. I was running on fumes, but it felt good. Kaylee came home for a long weekend, and she and Tracy went full-on baby shopping mode. We'd already gotten rid of everything from the first two kids. They came home laughing, arms full of bags. I carried it all in while they giggled and made dinner. We sat around talking about how different everything was now compared to 20 years ago. Tracy mentioned how weird she felt in maternity clothes, like they were made for 20-somethings, not women her age. "Well, Mom," Kaylee joked, "you're just too feminine, and someone took it the wrong way." Tracy didn't laugh, just kind of froze for a second thinking, and I noticed she didn't say Dad. She said someone. It hit different. My stomach turned. That comment wasn't just a joke. I started paying attention. The whole weekend there were little remarks, side eyes, hints. Not outright, but pointed. Something was up. At one point, when Tracy stepped out, I asked Kaylee, real casual, "So what do you think about being a big sister again after all these years?" She paused. Long pause. Wouldn't meet my eyes. Then she let out a laugh that morphed into a fake cough. "It's great," she said, voice too high. "Mom still got it, and you're, still a stud." Then she practically ran out of the room. I popped 2 Rolaids and didn't say a word. Tracy was glowing. Pregnancy always suited her. But I couldn't shake the weird vibe. My gut was talking, and I was trying real hard not to listen. Months rolled by. Then, one afternoon, I was at the office when Tracy called. She'd taken unpaid leave, supposed to be off until the baby came. Her voice was all soft and flirty. "Hey, Dad, how about you drive this lady to the hospital?" she purred. I blinked. "Hospital? Wait, what? Are you okay?" "My water broke," she said like it was nothing. "I'm just too lazy to drive myself." "Oh, crap," I muttered, bolting out of my chair. I grabbed my keys, poked my head into my boss's office. "Baby's coming, I'm out!" and ran for the car. I made it home in 12 minutes flat. The whole time I'm thinking, she's only 6.5 months along. This can't be good. When I got home, Tracy was way too chill, calm as could be. I figured maybe being a third-time mom had made her tough. Me? I was freaking out worse than I did with our firstborn. 10 hours later, we had a baby girl. She was beautiful. Perfect, even. Except she wasn't. The hollow pull in my gut didn't make sense. Wasn't hunger, wasn't nerves. Just this cold, gnawing weight as the nurse started to hand me the baby. I flinched, stepped back without even thinking, like my body already knew something my brain was still catching up to. The nurse froze, wide-eyed. Everyone froze. "It's a full-blown baby, huh, Doc?" I said low, almost whispering, like the air had been knocked out of me. The doctor glanced at me, then at Tracy, who was still getting cleaned up across the room. She looked up just long enough to meet his eyes. And then she did it. That tiny, damn near invisible shake of her head. Like I wasn't standing 10 feet away. Like I hadn't just watched her bring a whole A life into the world. The doctor cleared his throat. Too smooth. Too careful. "I'm sorry, Mr. Marsley, but I'm not authorized to speak to you about the child's condition. You're not listed as having medical access." "What the hell does that even mean?" I snapped, voice rising. "I'm her father." "It's a HIPAA regulation," he said, not even looking me in the eye now. That was it. Something inside me snapped clean in half. "FHIPAA," I barked, loud enough that 2 nurses jumped and the whole room went tense. If she's my kid, then I got a right to know what's going on. And if she's not, if you're all standing here knowing that, I swear to God, you're not putting my name on crap without my say-so. That's fraud, you hear me? Fraud. So, someone better line up a damn DNA test or I'll get one myself and bring lawyers next time. It was dead quiet when I turned and walked out of the delivery room, peeling off the scrubs as I went. Outside, I saw my folks and Tracy's standing by the room window. Didn't stop, just kept moving. At the bar, I had drank 6, then 7, ate a burger I couldn't taste. By then, my phone was lit up. Calls from pretty much everyone I ever knew, except the one that mattered. No doc yet, no test results. Guess Tracy figured there was no point dragging it out. It was already done. Crap, I muttered. 7 shots in, and this is still the only thing in my head. My wife had someone else's kid. I slept like the dead that night. Woke up to full voicemail, texts stacked up, assuming nothing blew up after I left. Today should have been the day I brought Tracy and the baby home. I dragged myself into the shower. Felt like my head and guts were being worked over from the inside. Still went back to the hospital. Needed to finish what was started. Tracy was nursing the baby when I walked in. I didn't say a word, just dropped into the chair like I was falling. The baby was already drifting off. She gently unlatched and lowered her into the cradle like nothing was broken. "I don't even know where to begin, Bobby," Tracy said, voice low and shaky, eyes glassing over. "This wasn't how it was supposed to happen." I didn't answer, just stared at her, waiting to see what the hell excuse she thought might work. "I went there to help him," she said. "Just to be his friend, honestly. But then he had a rough couple days, and one night he just broke. Cried in my arms, and it just happened. We ended up in bed. After that, it was easy. Too easy, and then you came down to help, and everything got messy. I still didn't move, didn't blink. We slept together again, you and I," Tracy said, "and it felt awkward. I felt guilty, but I didn't stop. Maybe I didn't want to. Gary and I were together for 4 months. The last 2. Every night. You weren't around, Bobby." "Oh, so this is my fault now," I said finally. "I was busy keeping our damn life together while you were playing nurse with benefits." "I'm not blaming you," she said quickly. "I'm just telling you how it happened." "How it happened," I repeated, like it was some accident? "You tripped and fell onto his Johnson, huh?" She winced, but kept her eyes on the baby. "We weren't careful," she said. "You and me, I wasn't on the pill. You could have been the father. Just didn't work out that way." "You saying this baby might have been mine?" I asked, jaw tight. She nodded. "Could have been, but it's not." And there it was. The truth, laid out like a brick through the windshield. "Wait," I said, staring at her. "You had sex with Gary while Kaylee was visiting?" Tracy blinked. Her face went red, but she didn't deny it. "She knew," I said. "Our daughter knew you were screwing another man, and she didn't say a goddamn thing." "She understood," Tracy said, quiet. "I told her it was between me and Gary." "You told her?" I said, standing now, voice rising. "Jesus, Tracy, did you bribe her? Threaten her?" "No," she snapped. "But I just told her the truth, that it was on my conscience. I asked her not to say anything." "You dragged our daughter into your mess," I said, pacing now, fists clenched. "Tell me Jeffrey didn't know." "He doesn't," Tracy said quickly. "Just you, me, and Kaylee." I stared at the wall like it might give me a better answer than she could. "I want it to stay that way," Tracy added, "so we can do what we need to do. For Bobby Geraldine." I turned slowly. "We? You think there's a we left?" I said. "That baby's not mine. You made that decision, not me. So don't talk to me like I'm already on board." "She's ours now," Tracy said. "As much as Kaylee and Jeffrey. We're raising her." "End of story?" I said, my voice cold. "Yes," she said, nodding. "For her. And in honor of our best friend." "Best friend?" I said, laughing bitterly. I must have missed the part where best friends screw each other's wives. "He was dying," Tracy said sharply. "It's not like we hadn't been together before." "Yeah," I growled. "But not while you were married to me, unless you got something else to admit." Her eyes narrowed, glowing with that low, cold fire. "No, Bobby," she snapped. "I didn't cheat on you before. Just now, apparently." "Geraldine," I said, gesturing toward the baby. "Is that supposed to soften me up? What's her last name?" "Bobby Geraldine Martin," she answered. "My last name," I muttered. "So, I get the public shame and none of the choice. Nice. But on the birth certificate?" "Gary's listed," she said, "but no one sees that, unless we show them." I laughed once, dry and sharp. "So, it's okay as long as we keep the lie quiet." "Got it?" She looked away. "He's gone, Bobby. I gave him comfort in his last days. That's not a sin." "You talk like this was some kind of damn mission of mercy," I said. "You crossed every line there is. You were my wife, and you didn't even ask." "It wasn't like that," she tried. "You broke our vows," I cut her off. "You didn't just betray me. You humiliated me publicly in front of our daughter. I didn't mean to." "You meant every second of it," I snapped. "You started it. You kept doing it. And the only reason you told me now is because you got knocked up and couldn't hide it anymore." Tracy went silent. The baby stirred in her cradle. The room was dead quiet, heavy with what we couldn't take back. "I know how to spell humiliation," I said, stepping back toward the door. "It starts with Bobby." Tracy's voice followed me as I grabbed the doorknob. "Thank you so much," she said. Kaylee and Jeffrey came home that weekend to meet their new sibling. I barely looked at her when she walked in. Cold didn't even begin to describe it. She knew, and I knew she knew. She had that guilty, can't look you in the eye energy the whole time. Pretended to be excited about the baby. Talked with Jeffrey for a solid hour while I watched her like a hawk, just waiting for her to slip. That night, the three of us were in the kitchen, cooking like we were some happy sitcom family. Kaylee chopped vegetables without saying crap. Kaylee stirred the sauce. I handled the chicken. Not a word between us. Just awkward tension and knives hitting the cutting board. After dinner, Jeffrey started on the dishes. I didn't wait. I took Kaylee's hand and led her straight out to the back patio. We hadn't even sat down for 10 seconds before I let loose. "You knew your mother was cheating on me and didn't say a single goddamn word?" I hissed, voice low and sharp. Kaylee flinched, eyes already glassy. She looked down, like the floor had better answers than I ever did, opened her mouth, closed it. Finally, she looked up at me, at the wreck I'd become. "I didn't know what to do," she said, voice trembling. "At first, yeah, I was shocked. But then, it was Uncle Gary. He was dying. It felt tragic. Like something out of Shakespeare or some crap." "Shakespeare?" I scoffed, laughing without any joy. "You're gonna come at me with some high school literature nonsense while my marriage bleeds out on the floor?" She was crying now, but I wasn't done. "Eat crap, Bill Shakespeare," I spat. "Did you ever once think about what this did to me? To your father? Or am I just the side character in your little tragic romance fantasy?" Kaylee's lip quivered. She shook her head. "I thought she was on birth control," she mumbled. "I didn't even think it could happen. I didn't think he was strong enough to, Oh, he was strong enough. Real strong when he was slipping it to my wife behind my back while I was paying the bills and keeping this family from falling apart." I leaned in. "And you, my daughter, kept your mouth shut, covered for her." "I didn't know what to say," she said, voice breaking. "I thought it was brave, heartbreaking. I didn't want to be the one to ruin everything." "You didn't want to be the one to ruin it?" I laughed bitterly. "You watched your mom rip this family in half and decided that silence made you noble." "Jesus, Kaylee." She said nothing else, just sat there, crying into her hoodie. I stood up and walked back inside before I said something I couldn't take back. Sunday afternoon, they packed up and left. Back to college, back to freedom, back to not dealing with the nuclear fallout left behind. Then it was just me, Tracy, and the baby, and silence. For the next few days, she kept trying to pull me in. "Can you hold her for a sec?" she'd ask while pretending she wasn't dying inside. I'd shake my head. "Just help me for 2 damn minutes." She'd try again. Nothing. I wouldn't touch that kid. Wouldn't even look her in the eye. It wasn't her fault, but I wasn't in the mood for logic. Not after the lies, not after the betrayal. Then one day, I was holding my phone trying to text the mortgage guy back when Tracy shoved the baby at me and snapped, "Hold her for 5 freaking minutes, Bobby!" I pulled back. I said no. She lost it. "You gonna keep playing little boy games at 45? She shouted. "Grow the hell up. Put your big boy pants on and help me out for once." I stood up slow, voice low but sharp as a blade. "Don't you dare talk to me about growing up. You want to throw a tantrum? Go ahead. You've already blown up the marriage. What's a little more screaming?" She opened her mouth to fire back but saw the look in my eyes, dead cold. "You made this bed," I said. "Now raise the baby you made in it." Tracy didn't curse much, maybe dropped the F-bomb on me a few times, ever. But that day, she let it fly. She was pissed, didn't matter to me. I just stared at her, empty, and walked out. Work turned into my escape. 40 hours a week where I didn't have to see her face or hear her voice. Home was quiet. Most days I was alone, gave me space to think. I knew the baby didn't do anything wrong. She was just born into this mess. But still, she wasn't mine. Not my job to raise her. That was on Tracy. At some point, it hit me. Divorce was the only way out. I couldn't live like this. Couldn't pretend it didn't happen. Every time I looked at that baby, all I saw was Tracy and Gary screwing. When I got home that night, the whole place felt off. Too quiet, lights too dim. I stepped into the kitchen and there she was, Tracy, sitting at the table like a ghost, cup of coffee shaking in her hands, eyes red as hell. The contents of a big manila envelope were spread out like an autopsy report. She was crying, but not the kind that gets sympathy. More like she was trying to look small after the explosion she caused. She didn't even look up when she spoke. "I guess I'll order something to go," she mumbled. "Pepperoni pizza." Breadsticks? I didn't answer right away, just dropped my bag, walked over, grabbed myself a mug, poured coffee like she wasn't even there. Okay, I said flat, sitting down across from her. That's when the mask slipped. She snapped her head up, eyes narrow, voice dripping venom. That's it? Okay, that's what you care about. Freaking dinner? You don't love me anymore, do you? I let out a slow sigh, leaned back in the chair, took a sip. Not as much as I did a few weeks ago, I said, calm but sharp enough to cut skin. Her face twisted like I'd slapped her. You don't or can't see that you blew it the second you spread your legs for our best friend? I added. You want something to do? Call a goddamn lawyer. And tell Gary's parents while you're at it, they've got a granddaughter. I'm sure they'll be thrilled. You know I don't want a divorce, she said, voice trembling, trying to look broken and soft. I love you, Bobby. I want you to calm down and really think about this. Will you actually be better off alone? I doubt it. Think about it, honey. I stared at her like she was made of smoke. Oh, I've been thinking, I said. Every goddamn night since I found out. This isn't about me being better off. It's about the fact you wrecked what we had. You broke our vows like they meant nothing. You took a damn sledgehammer to my heart and then stood there pretending it was therapy. She tried to reach across the table. I didn't flinch. But if you still love me, there's forgiveness, right? She said. We can get through this. We have to. You know it, Bobby, deep down. I thought I knew that, I said. But this isn't the kind of thing you fix with a sorry and a couple counseling sessions. You don't screw our dying best friend and expect me to bounce back like nothing happened. I stood up, pushed the chair back with a screech. 24 years, I muttered. You threw him in the trash for a pity F? Later that night, I made my first call to my son. Told him everything, the affair, the baby, that it was Gary's, not mine. He didn't say much, just silence for a long beat. Then I heard his voice, low and raw. Crap, he whispered. I filed, I told him. Good, he said, anger leaking into every word. Jesus, Dad, what the F was she thinking? I could hear the pain behind his voice. Betrayed by his mother. I didn't want him to carry all that weight, too. No matter what she did to me, I said, she still loves you. Don't forget that. This is between me and her. He was quiet again, then asked, what are you going to do about the baby? I didn't even hesitate. Nothing, not a goddamn thing. Not financially, not emotionally. That's not my kid. You sure you won't be dragged into it legally? Everything's fine on paper, I said. I'll be clean, but you look after your sister. There was another pause. Then he corrected me. Half-sister, Dad. I didn't tell my parents anything until the day Tracy got served. Dad was pissed, at her for cheating and at me for ever leaving her alone with Gary. You knew they had history, man, he said. You really thought trusting her meant you could trust him too? Don't be dumb, Bobby. No guy's safe around your girl, ever. Couldn't argue. He was right. I should have shut that down long ago. That part's on me. Mom, though, she saw it different. You were wrong to walk away, she said, calm but firm. People mess up. I shook my head. Once? Sure. 4 months? That's a choice. And she didn't even use protection. That's not a mistake. That's insane. She looked me dead in the eye. You still love her. She needs help with the baby. That's your job now, Robert, and that little girl is still my third grandkid. She called me Robert. That said everything. She was Team Tracy. Dad just leaned back, stared at the ceiling, knowing he was in for it later. I didn't call Kaylee. Figured Tracy hit her up first. That was confirmed when Kaylee called me, annoyed. Uncle Gary's gone, Dad. Forget the Zex. She can't undo it now. Move on. You still love her. There's a baby. Be there for both. She said it like a coach giving orders. Funny how she never told me what Tracy did. Her own dad. Yeah, well, I said. I'm not really worried about your opinion anymore. Later, I heard Gary's folks were shocked but happy. They were mad Tracy hid the baby from them, but said they got it. Next day, they called me, begged me to stay with Tracy. Said I was the only guy they trusted to raise Gary's daughter. I told them straight, thanks, but I'm not that guy. I was mad as hell. Couldn't even look straight. The phone went quiet. They were hurt, I could tell, but I didn't care. I was just being honest. Then came the relatives. Same story. She screwed up, yeah, but she loves you. Stay. Be a family. I thanked them, said I wasn't sure I could ever get past what she did. Because honestly, I couldn't. Tracy didn't want the divorce. She fought it hard. Her lawyer got us 12 joint counseling sessions. I went, but I wasn't going to just sit there and nod like some doormat. First one was with Dr. Jocelyn McAdams. Looked sharp, gray blazer, stiff handshake, 10 years older than us maybe. Tracy was already there, sitting like she owned the place. Doctor said, "Let's hear Tracy's side first." So I zoned out. I already knew how that story went. Make herself look soft. Play down the cheating. Then she snapped me back. "Mr. Martin," she said, "you hold the power here. You could fix your marriage, fix your home, be the grown-up. Put your pride down." I blinked. "Really? That's your takeaway?" "Hold up, Doc," I said. "It's Doctor or Dr. McAdams," she cut in. "This is a professional space, no personal tones." I stared at her. "This how you work? You already picked sides and you haven't even heard me." I stood up and left. Called my lawyer on the way home. "Get me someone neutral or I'm done showing up." Second therapist, Dr. Avant, was better. At least she let me talk. But I still felt like I was sinking. "You said you still love your wife," she said. "She loves you too. And now you have a child together. What's stopping you from rebuilding this?" "First," I said, "we were never a family. That's not my kid. And I'm not raising someone else's." "So it's ego," she replied. Smug face, like she had me figured out. I sighed. "I can't win with you people, can I?" She stayed quiet. So I gave it to her straight. "Let me paint it real clear. I'm not the one who cheated. I didn't break my vows. I didn't sleep with someone else and come back pregnant. She did. You want to ask someone hard questions? Start with her." I looked at Tracy. She frowned. The doc tried to stay cool, but looked thrown off like one of those old Monty Python skits. Yeah, I didn't see it coming either. "Mr. Martin, doctor." Avant said, "If you marry someone else who already has kids, wouldn't you also be raising another man's child?" "Sure, doc, but in this case, she had the kid while married to me." "That's kind of a big deal, don't you think?" She gave a little nod, but didn't stop. "And since the father died before the baby was born, aren't you being petty now?" "Petty?" I laughed. "Petty is lying about it and hoping I never find out. She didn't confess. I caught her." She opened her mouth again, but I cut her off. "Look, Doc, this is nuts. Yeah, I still love her. You don't just shut that off." "But how can she say she loves me after sleeping with Gary behind my back, getting pregnant and acting like the kid was mine? This wasn't one stupid night. It went on for months. And now she says it was all compassion. Then why not come to me, her husband? Because she knew I'd say no." I shook my head. "She wants to say it's her body, her choice. Fine. But once you get married, your choices affect someone else. That's what vows mean. You don't just go solo and expect your partner to be cool with it." The doc just sat there, blinking. Then she tapped her pen. "So, do you have enough love left to try? Be a husband, a dad? Gary's gone. Tracy's alone." She hit me with the man up card. "My wife and best friend tore me apart, Doc. If Gary was still breathing, I'd break his nose." My love for her? It's dying fast. The baby's innocent, but she ain't my problem. And this marriage, it's dead. Second session, I said 2 words. Hello and goodbye. Tracy cried. I didn't care. Doc sighed. "You're not going to budge, are you? I'll tell the judge." "Cool, thanks." The divorce was final 6 months later, right before Christmas. No fault state, so everything got split. Tracy bought out my half of the house. Gary left us a bunch when he died, so she had money. I earned more, so she got child support too. My son stayed on my side, but I knew he wanted to spend Christmas with everyone, his mom, sister, and new half-sister. I told him it was fine. We'd celebrate New Year's together. 2 days before Christmas, I dropped off gifts. Even got stuff for Tracy and the baby. Nothing big. I just didn't want to look small in front of the kids. Tracy opened the door with the baby in her arms. She looked shocked to see me. I held up the bags. She hesitated, then let me in. Living room looked the same. Tree up, lights on. Only difference, I didn't put any of it up this time. She saw my face, glanced at the tree, then the gifts. "Want some eggnog, Bobby?" she asked gently. "I'll put the bags under the tree." I nodded. "Can you hold the baby for a sec?" Didn't mean to ask, didn't want to ask, but it came out, and I took her. Gary's kid, their kid, felt sick. Held her out in front of me like she was a live grenade. Then, without thinking, I pulled her in with one arm, like I used to do with my own kids. Sat down. Tracy came back with eggnog, smiled when she saw me holding her. That brings back memories. she said softly. You've always been good with little ones. Not every man is. I gave a weak smile. The baby was cute, looked like her mom. But I'd never be at ease. Too much had happened. I couldn't forget. And without that, there's no forgiving. Not for me. We talked a bit. Small stuff. Then she picked up the bags and started placing the presents under the tree. She paused when she saw the one with Bobby Geraldine on it. Her eyes welled up. You didn't have to, Bobby, she whispered. A tear rolled down her cheek. Christmas is for all kids, Trace, I said. Even hers. I looked down at the baby in my arms. In another life, she could have been mine. My throat tightened. I couldn't hate her. No matter what her mom had done, Tracy didn't hand her to me by accident. Tracy gasped when she saw the gift with her name on it. Oh, Bobby, you didn't have to. I didn't get you anything. I'm sorry. I waved it off. Don't sweat it. I just want you to have a good Christmas. She looked hopeful. You know, you could stay. You'd be welcome. There's tons of food. The kids would love it. Not this year, Trace. Maybe next time. It's still too fresh. She lowered her eyes. I wasn't trying to be cold, just real. I was still bleeding. Christmas Eve, I ended up at Barnes & Noble, reading the new Clive Cussler book and sipping a mint mocha at the in-store Starbucks. A few other loners were doing the same. We stayed till they practically kicked us out. I got home, made toast with chicken salad, grabbed a bag of chips, and a bottle of Don Julio. Sad meal, but it worked. Woke up Christmas morning with a light hangover. Took 4 aspirin, downed Pop-Tarts, and 3 cups of coffee, then got ready for my big holiday feast, which didn't exist. I went to my folks' place, just the 3 of us. Mom made ham, and we opened a few gifts. The kids had sent theirs ahead when they heard I was coming. We even had hot chocolate with peppermint schnapps. But the ghosts of old Christmases haunted me. Back when we were a family, I hated to admit it, but I still loved Tracy. At least a part of me did. And I wasn't sure anymore if I made the right call. Apparently, I wasn't the only one thinking that way. Mom broke the silence. We hope you don't mind, Bobby, but we think of Bobby Geraldine as our granddaughter. We got her gifts. She looked nervous. Gary's gone, she added. That little girl will never know him. She'll grow up needing someone steady. Tracy made mistakes. But we still love her. She reached across the table. You could be that man, Bobby. I think deep down you want to. You just don't know how to say it out loud. Tears welled up in her eyes. Dad stared at me hard. Maybe I was the only one not seeing it. Or maybe they just didn't want to see what I saw. She cheated on me. For months. Lied. Tried to pass off someone else's kid as mine. Compassion doesn't cover that. I couldn't unsee it. A year later, not much had changed. Still working, still going home to an empty house. No dates, few friends. Tracy had all the social ties. When we split, most of them vanished. Hers, sure. But even ours. That stung. One night, I learned why. I was nursing a double whiskey at a half-dead bar 2 blocks from my place. Just trying to forget the last 6 months of my life when Carl and Susie Dimmick walked in. Old friends. Or so I thought. They saw me. I gave a quick nod, started walking over. Carl barely flicked his eyes at me. Susie looked like I farted on her shoes. Tight-lipped, frozen, something was off. I stopped at their table. Hey, Carl, Susie, thought that was you guys. Nothing but cold stares, no smiles, just this stiff silence like I'd just kicked their dog. I raised an eyebrow, then laughed once, dry, bitter. What the hell did I ever do to you two? I snapped. What, did I eliminated your cat and forget about it? Susie stood up like her seat caught fire. Not to us, she snapped back. To Tracy. You walked out on her, right after she had a baby. That's cold, Bobby. Even for you. That hit like a sucker punch, but I didn't flinch. I blinked once, slow, and stared at her like she just told me the earth was flat. Wait, that's what she told you? I stepped in closer, real close. Dropped my voice low, but sharp as a switchblade. All right, let's clear this up since you're clearly subscribed to the Tracy Nonsense Broadcast Network. They both stiffened. That baby? Not mine, I said, leaning on the edge of their table. She got pregnant by Gary. You remember Gary, our dying best friend. Yeah, turns out comforting meant getting back under the sheets. He died of cancer a month after he knocked her up, and she had the stones to try to pass the baby off as mine. Like I'm some idiot! Carl's face turned pale. Susie blinked like her mascara just betrayed her. I kept going. 24 goddamn years I gave that woman. I built our life from scratch. And this is how she pays me back? By crawling into bed with a ghost and handing me the fallout like it's my moral duty? I stepped back, glancing between the two of them. So, no, I didn't walk out. I left a lie. A ticking time bomb with a pretty face. She left me the second she decided to become a professional widow before her husband was even dead. They sat there speechless. Carl finally looked down at his beer. Susie opened her mouth, then closed it again. I shook my head. To hell with her, I said. And to hell with both of you for believing her without ever calling me once. I turned and walked out, the bar door swinging behind me, leaving them in the dust of their own ignorance. My second Christmas after the divorce started like the first, alone at Barnes & Noble. But this time the Losers Club had grown. 4 of us, 2 guys, 2 women. I glanced up from my book. One woman had curly red hair, freckles, soft features. Cute. The other one? Whoa. She had jet black hair down to her waist, wore a hoodie and tight jeans. Her face was flawless, ageless. She had that kind of calm beauty that didn't need effort. Asian, maybe 50, maybe 55. Stunning. And all I could think was, what's she doing here, spending Christmas Eve alone? I watched her for maybe a minute, then said, screw it. Worst she could do was say no. I grabbed my book and coffee, walked over. She looked up as I got close. Didn't see you here last year. New to the Losers Club on Christmas Eve? She smiled. I'm Bobby, president of said club. What brings a pretty woman like you to a place like this tonight? She laughed. Light, warm, best sound I'd heard in ages. I kept going. I know this is sudden, but I've got a second Hungry Man dinner at home, still frozen. If you've got no plans, I'm giving you the puppy dog eyes. She raised an eyebrow. You're insane. I'm serious, I said. Well, she smiled. I don't usually do things like this, but since you're club president and you said Hungry Man, sure. Why not? I'm Angel Wong. Bobby Martin, welcome to the club. I gave her my address and told her to come by at 6. I got home and tossed both dinners in the oven. She showed up right on time. Yeah, maybe we were both a little nuts, but we had dinner at the kitchen table, drank cheap wine, and talked. I told her how I ended up alone on Christmas Eve. Then she told me her story. She was 52, 5 years older than me, divorced 10 years. Her ex had been abusive, married 16 years. Misuse started after year 10. Got worse until he broke her jaw. She finally left him after waking up in the hospital. Said he was a short guy, maybe 5'2", barely 120 pounds, but had a loud mouth and mean streak. Said he was bullied as a kid and took it out on her. Always said sorry after, promised to change. Never did. He went to prison for 2 years. They divorced while he was locked up. No kids, thank God. She hadn't dated much since. No close family nearby. Told me Christmas was the hardest time of year. I know it's crazy I came over tonight, she said, her voice shaking. But I just didn't want to be alone and, well, Hungry Man. I laughed. Glad you came. Honestly, I was feeling sorry for myself before she walked in. After hearing what she'd been through, I felt lucky. Later, we moved to the couch, drank more wine, watched Christmas movies. Started with Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. She said it was the best version. I agreed. Right then, I knew she was different. Then the Grinch. Halfway through It's a Wonderful Life, I looked over. She was out cold, smiling in her sleep. I grabbed a blanket, covered us both, and sat next to her. Must have dozed off, too. When I woke up, her head was on my chest. Her arm was across my body. I had one arm around her, the other shoved in my back pocket. Snow flickered on the TV screen, and for some reason it felt right. I laid there, holding her while she slept for 20 more minutes. Then she blinked awake, looked up at me all confused. I smiled, kissed her nose. She scrunched it and gave me a sleepy grin. Good morning, she said, soft. Merry Christmas, I said, pulling her in. We stayed there a bit longer, not moving, just grinning at each other like fools. I've never done anything like this before, she said, blushing hard. But is it just me, or do you feel it too? I grinned. Oh yeah, I feel it. It was fast, sure. We'd just met, but it didn't feel forced. I looked at her, and she looked right back, like we were on the same page. This is nuts, I said. But if you don't have plans tonight, I've got everything for a real Christmas dinner. Just missing someone to share it with? Her smirk turned to a full smile. I need a shower, and I didn't bring clothes. You can borrow something, I said. I've got sweaters that'd fit. She raised an eyebrow. You okay seeing me without makeup? If you're okay with me in flannel pajama pants, we're even. She laughed again. We showered. I handed her one of my sweaters. Looks great, I said. We strolled into the kitchen and I grabbed a bottle of Riesling, poured 2 glasses, and started prepping dinner. Angel plopped down at the table, curled her legs up under her, and let just enough skin show to mess with my head. So you seriously got nowhere to be tonight? She asked, raising an eyebrow. No family stuff or anything? I actually got invited to a big holiday dinner with the whole crew, I said, chopping onions. But I told them I had plans already. She gave me a curious look, so I kept going. My ex is hosting it at my old place. Kids, her mom, her new in-laws, Gary's side. You know the drill. Whole thing's a trap. She'll hand me her new baby, make everyone ooh and ah, then hit me with the I still love you, let's try again speech. Cue the parents telling me to man up. It's a whole production. I told them I had other plans, and yeah, everyone knew I was full of it. But I wasn't going back to that circus. Not again. I didn't lie, I added. I'm not the one who messed it all up. Tracy cheated. That's on her. What we had, it was real until it wasn't. But speaking of real stuff, how about we talk about us? Angel smiled, slow and warm. I walked over, pulled her close, and we kissed. Deep. Real. Right then, the door creaked open. The lock clicked, and I heard, Dad? We froze mid-kiss. Jeffrey stepped inside like it was just another Tuesday. Dad? He saw us, half-locked lips, and stopped cold. Oh, wow. He spun around fast, trying not to stare at Angel, who, while technically dressed, wasn't exactly Sunday school appropriate. Mom knew I had a key, he said, eyes fixed on the floor. She sent me over to drag you back for dinner because she figured I'd be sitting here feeling sorry for myself. I finished for him. Well, he mumbled, glancing over his shoulder. Guess you weren't lying about having plans. Not exactly pathetic. Sorry if I busted in on something. You're just interrupting dinner prep, I said, maybe a little too quick. Angel and I traded awkward glances. Jeffrey, turn around. Come meet Angel. She's my angel. He turned back slowly, clearly trying not to look anywhere inappropriate. Angel gave a little shrug and smiled at him. Being a redhead, Jeff turned beet red himself. Took one look at Angel and gave me a nod like, respect, old man. Nice to meet you, Angel. Thanks for keeping my dad company. Pleasure's all mine, she said smoothly. Your dad's one hell of a guy. Yeah, somebody in this family forgot that for a while. I cleared my throat. So, how were the gifts I sent? Oh, total hit, especially the stuff you got for the little guy. Kid made out like a bandit. 3 sets of grandparents will do that. Figures, I said. Jeffrey said he had to head back. He nodded to Angel, and I pulled him into a hug. New Year's Eve? I asked with a grin. I'm coming, he said. Just maybe warn Angel to wear more clothes. Angel snorted. Rude. Jeff turned scarlet again. I meant no offense. You're lovely. After he left, Angel gave me a sharp look. That wasn't too weird, was it? She asked. And seriously, what's this New Year's Eve thing? I'm not invited first? Not this year, I teased. Oh, really? And where else would your fiancé be on New Year's Eve? You sound pretty sure of yourself. I'm positive, she said. You'll be even more confident when you pick out your ring tomorrow at the Cairo store. She lit up. Can I at least go home first and put on some real clothes? If you really must, I said, pretending to pout. The next day, she picked out a Marquise-cut, 1-carat diamond ring. We grabbed lunch, then I made the calls, told my parents and Jeffrey the news. Jeff was pumped. My parents, not so much. Still clinging to the fantasy I'd patch things up with Tracy and play stepdad to her baby. This is all so sudden, honey, my mom said gently. Are you sure this isn't just about getting back at Tracy? She still loves you, you know it. Mom, I said, I'm not out here trying to hurt anyone. And if Tracy loves me, maybe she should have acted like it. Tracy loves Tracy. I didn't tell Kaylee right away. She was firmly on Team Mom and thought Tracy's whole caretaking saga was some kind of love-fueled sacrifice. I figured she'd hear eventually. And yeah, she'd probably call just to yell at me about it. On paper, Angel and I didn't make a lot of sense. After 25 years with Tracy, jumping into something new looked crazy, but it didn't feel crazy. Everything with Angel just clicked. We talked like we'd known each other forever. I never believed in love at first sight. Until I did. Angel wasn't some naive kid either. She was just as confused by our lightning-fast connection as I was. At first, we overthought everything, picked it apart, then we stopped, let it be, and everything started falling into place. A month later, she moved in. 6 months after that, we were basically glued at the hip. My folks warmed up to her, even though she wasn't Tracy. Kaylee? Not so much. She still wanted her parents back together. We had a small wedding, just family and a few close friends. I rented a private room at my favorite restaurant. I invited my parents and the kids. Angel brought her cousin and a friend with their families. It was perfect, except for Kaylee cornering me with a look. "So, why weren't Mom, Bobby G, and the in-laws invited?" she asked. "Because your mom is my ex-wife," I said calmly. "Inviting her would have been disrespectful to Angel. And no offense, but I'm not on good terms with her people anymore. We're not friends." Angel and Tracy didn't meet until 2 years later, at Kaylee's wedding. Tracy threw a stunning event, and I footed the bill. Angel stayed classy, didn't step on any toes. She let Tracy run the show. My job was simple: walk Kaylee down the aisle. I was proud, overwhelmed even. I glanced at Tracy a few times, remembering her and Kaylee baking cookies, coloring together. It reminded me, not everything between us was bad. We had a good run. Angel squeezed my hand in the pew. I looked at her, and she leaned in and kissed me, soft, loving. That moment told me I could get through the rest of the day. Angel kept it cool during the rehearsal and wedding, only talking to Tracy when absolutely necessary. It wasn't fear, it was grace. Tracy, though, she shot daggers every time Angel walked by. I found out later she and the grandparents all thought Angel had stolen her spotlight, like our marriage was just a phase I'd snap out of. But I wasn't snapping out of anything, not this time.